Hi everyone, Life Coach Carisa here, coming to you with a new message today about unnecessary apologizing. So today I want to talk to you about when we over apologize, or it could also be called unnecessary apologizing. I think this is more commonly found in women than men, but if I have any guys listening to this, don't head out just yet. Maybe you could learn something about this behavior for any women in your life. Maybe you can help them recognize this habit so they can decide if they want to keep this habit or break the cycle. So stick around with me. Maybe there'd be a little nugget in here for you to share with someone that you care about. So what I'm going to be talking about today is how women tend to use the word sorry repeatedly in their communication. Saying sorry to others when it's not necessary or doesn't necessarily make sense. So I thought a good place to start would be with the definition of sorry. So according to Google, the definition of sorry is feeling distress, especially through sympathy with someone else's misfortune, or feeling regret or penitence. So if we look at that a little bit closer, it's totally appropriate to apologize to someone when you have done something to them to, inadvertently hurt them in some way. It's also obviously appropriate if you are trying to maybe sympathize with someone for something that has happened to them. Those are the reasons why you would want to use the word I'm sorry. So what I'd like to ask you is, have you noticed that you apologize frequently? Because I did, for sure. About 2 years ago, when I was kind of going through my own process of self-discovery, working on myself, and just being very intentional about focusing on building my self-confidence. During that journey, I came across this realization that I would constantly apologize for everything. I didn't realize it at the time, how much of a habit it had become. It was just part of my verbiage that I would use to people. And I started to notice how much I was using it. And I can recall in my past that I would apologize for everything, it felt like, to people. And, I remember one time, my mom, I would apologize to her when we spent too much time talking on the phone or in person because I was concerned that my father would not be happy with her. So I was there was nothing I was directly doing, but I was preempting that I was going to need to apologize for something that I was doing that really there was nothing wrong with. So I would take on maybe the concerns of others and I would be trying to pre-apologize for it. So, I can remember saying I'm sorry to my husband if something didn't go well for him. I would say sorry anytime someone did, share their unfortunate thoughts and feelings with me. I just would use it so often that I think it began to sort of lose its true meaning. And I can also remember that when I would constantly say I'm sorry, it made me feel a certain way after I said it. And so sometimes, when I would use the word, it just really wouldn't make sense. And there was really no need for me to apologize. And so I started by, catching myself and just asking myself, why did I just say I'm sorry? And I can remember when I was in the beginning of just becoming aware of all this, I was at the office and I was someone had come around a corner and it kind of startled me. And I would say, I'm sorry, instead of maybe just saying, excuse me, or, just something much more simple. I was apologizing for it and it just wasn't necessary. And so I thought it was interesting. There's been a lot of studies on this, and there's been studies proving that women tend to do this so much more than men. And there's a lot of reasons behind it. Some of those are, that women have a lower threshold than men, for what we determine to be offensive. And, men tend to find very few things to be enough of an infraction that they need to apologize for, whereas women can tend to apologize for everything. And I think, the studies have shown that women need, they feel the need to cushion their actions, and women worry about hurting feelings, and women were often raised to be polite and act in a polite manner. And so we were often taught to be the ones to keep the peace. And a lot of times this could lead to us becoming people pleasers, wanting to keep the peace among everyone and keep everyone happy. And so those are what some of the studies have shown of why we do have this habit. And so some of you may be wondering, like, okay, why is it a problem to apologize all the time? Is it really that bad to say I'm sorry? Like, there are probably many worse things that you could do. But what I want to offer is, like, let's go back to the definition of I'm sorry. If there's no reason for you to be saying it because it doesn't fit the purpose, then why would you want to? I think the downside of this habit is when you use the word sorry so much, it is indicating that you did something incorrect or wrong in the eyes of, yourself or another. And so little by little, we give away our confidence by using unnecessary sorries. Again, it's so subtle, but over a long period of doing this behavior, you will notice that it creates this underlying feeling that you're doing something wrong. And we don't need that in our life. And that was what I uncovered, that this is just not serving me in the ways that I'm using it all of the time. It's not necessary. So what I want to give you today are some tips for creating awareness around this and evaluate your habits with using the phrase, I'm sorry. And so, tip 1 would be to start noticing when you say the word sorry. Ask yourself why you said it. Create awareness around the word itself. So start to just catch yourself when you're using it and ask yourself why you just said it. Why did you just use that? Was it appropriate? Did it make sense? Are you truly sorry for something, or is it coming from just being a habit? Tip 2, if you have someone in your life that you're close with, maybe you could let them know that you are working on this. You are trying to curb the habit of using I'm sorry. For me, it ended up being my mom. I noticed I was constantly saying I'm sorry to her for everything. Like, she could be waiting for just a minute maybe to meet me, and I would say I'm sorry. Or if I told her the wrong directions on where we were going, I'm sorry. Like, I would just say it so much when I was around her. And I told her I was becoming aware of this habit and I wanted to stop saying it because oftentimes I'm saying it and there's no reason for it. And she completely understood what I was saying, and she was very supportive in helping me catch myself when I maybe missed it. And so when I would say sorry, she would say, there's no reason to apologize. Why are you saying that? And so after a few times of that exchange, I noticed my mindfulness really took off. I was becoming hyper aware of my use of the word, I'm sorry. And so, I noticed today, I use it so much more intentionally, and it just has so much more of a heartfelt meaning behind it when I use it. And tip 3, this one really blew me away. There is a Google Chrome extension called Just Not Sorry. So you can download this, on your, Google Chrome, and you can utilize it for when you create emails. It will notify you and alert you when you are using, too much of a sentiment of apologizing in an email. And the reason why this is important is because it really can undermine the message that you are wanting to convey. And so I thought that was really interesting that there's this tool available that could even help you with crafting emails, because I know I was a big offender with using I'm sorry in emails. It just had become such a habit for me. I just was not being intentional. So check that out. The Chrome extension is called Just Not Sorry. I thought that was really fascinating. And then lastly, tip 4, begin to swap out alternatives to saying I'm sorry. And I've got some suggestions for you. You could jot these down and see if you could start making them become, your new habit. For example, like my situation, when passing someone in a hallway, rather than saying sorry, how about excuse me? Or go ahead, or after you, or your turn. You can create a habit out of saying these alternative phrases. If you didn't hear someone the first time what they said, rather than sorry, you could ask, could you repeat that? If you were keeping someone waiting, rather than saying I'm sorry for keeping you waiting, you could say, how about, thank you for waiting, which would be just a nice gesture and acknowledging their patience. So that could be a really nice way, rather than sorry, to put a positive affirmation on it for what they did. if you've ever voiced your opinion to someone for the level of service you received, rather than saying, I'm sorry for complaining, what if you said, thank you for listening? Thank you for hearing me out. That can be so much more impactful. Do you notice the difference in that? Sorry for complaining versus thank you for listening. Thank you for hearing me out. I think it just is such a bigger connector with someone in your communication. I was a big interrupter. I would have this habit of interrupting people. And so rather than saying sorry for interrupting, what if you, said, hey, I'd like to add to that or expand on that. That might be an interesting way to stop apologizing. How about instead of apologizing in an email, you could say, thank you for catching that, or I appreciate you bringing this to my attention. Again, those just are much more impactful ways in your communication style that you might want to give a try. Again, this can be so subtle, and, this behavior repeated over time can just chip away at the confidence that you have and how you want to present yourself and how you ultimately come across. So I think it's just really important to have an awareness of our use of the word sorry and just being intentional for when and where we want to use it, because we truly are having a feeling of sorry for something that has happened. Apologizing when you have indeed done something wrong is the appropriate thing to do, but compulsive apologizing can really be viewed as a weakness in business and personal relationships, not to mention, again, that negative impact that it has on your own self-confidence that you don't even realize is happening. So that is why this is just really important information to have and to be aware of, because I've shared in other videos that we, pretty much work from our primitive brain. So 90% of the time we're working out of our subconscious and just doing routine habitual behaviors. And this is one of those areas that it could serve you well to just pay attention to why you're apologizing and does it make sense? If you're someone that really wants to be more confident with your communication, know that being confident comes from feeling confident. So how do you feel confident? You generate that feeling of confidence from your thoughts. So if you can catch yourself going into situations and you're not communicating with the confidence that you would like, it is most likely because you're not managing your thoughts. And so being intentional about the use of I'm sorry can really create you being mindful and aware of what you're thinking and what is the message that you really want to convey. Because the way to be confident in your communication is to have mindfulness. So ask yourself, why am I saying this? How do I feel when I say this? If any negative emotion comes up for you, then this is a signal that you have some work to do to clean this up. If you manage your mind and you believe that what you're saying is important, that it is your truth, and that it is helpful and useful in some way to another, then you are most likely going to feel more confident in your communication. All right, everyone. I hope this was helpful for you. Whether you are someone who has a habit of over-apologizing and you just didn't know why you were doing it and you weren't even aware, or maybe you have an obsessive apologizer in your life that you could pass this information on to, that would be wonderful to kind of help create some awareness around it for them. So please, if you found this content helpful, please like and share. And you can always learn more about the support that I offer by visiting lifecoachingwithcarissa.com. Have a great day, everyone. I'll see you next time.